Ever checked your account and felt your stomach drop because of a charge you definitely didn't make? It happens to the best of us. Today, we're diving into this explainer to demystify the exact step-by-step process of disputing a charge with Navy Federal Credit Union. By the time we wrap up, you'll know exactly how this system works, from the second that bad charge hits your account to the moment your funds are securely returned.
Picture this, you're just sipping your morning coffee, scrolling through your banking app, and boom, there it is. A random $50 or maybe even a $5,000 mystery charge, or perhaps a merchant billed you for something that showed up totally busted. That instant rush of panic? Oh, it's universal. Okay, let's dive into this. It doesn't have to be a nightmare because knowing the rules of the game is your absolute best defense.
Here's our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to cover the dispute dilemma, fraud versus billing errors, initiating your NFCU claim, gathering winning evidence, the investigation timeline, and finally, advanced tactics and disclaimers. Let's get to it.
Section 1. The dispute dilemma. Identifying the problem.
So knowing exactly what went wrong is the first step to actually fixing it. There are a few common triggers for these financial headaches. First up, calculation or math errors. Think of a merchant just billing the wrong amount or accidentally double charging you for one latte. Next, fulfillment failures. You pay for a brand new TV, but it arrives with a totally shattered screen, or hey, it never arrives at all. Then we've got cancellation issues. We have all been there. You cancel a subscription exactly how they tell you to, but they just keep hitting your account every single month anyway. And lastly, unrecognized charges. These are the scary ones, usually pointing straight to potential fraud or stolen card data.
Section 2. Fraud versus billing errors. Knowing your enemy.
Here's something absolutely crucial. You have to understand the fundamental difference between a billing error and a fraud claim. Federal regulatory frameworks like Regulation E and Regulation Z treat these two completely differently. A billing error, that means a merchant made a mistake or just failed to deliver. You actually authorized a transaction with them at some point, but the outcome was a mess. You just didn't get what you paid for. Now, a fraud claim is a whole different beast. It means you did not authorize it, you didn't participate, and you got absolutely zero benefit from it whatsoever. Categorizing this correctly from day one is everything, because it literally dictates which Navy Federal forms you use and how they run the investigation.
Section 3. Initiating your NFCU claim. The submission strategy.
All right, time to take action. Navy Federal has very specific, organized pathways depending on your transaction type. If you call their 1-888-426-328 number, you can't just yell fraud into the phone. You've got to route your claim right. Got a credit card issue? You'll press 3, then 2. And for fraud, you'll need Form NFCU 562. If it's a debit card, press 1, then 3, then 4. You'll use Form 628A for a dispute or 562A for a forgery. And hey, if a merchant improperly pulled money right out of your checking account via ACH, you'll need to ask for funds services and submit Form NFCU 50. Don't mix these up, folks. Using the wrong form or channel is a fast track to annoying delays.
Take a look at this snippet here. This is Navy Federal Form 628A, which is explicitly for debit card disputes. See how it asks you to verify the charges and check the exact category that best describes your dispute? Getting this specific piece of paperwork right, signing it and submitting it, either through their secure portal or by mail, is literally the bedrock of your entire claim.
Let's distill this whole submission process into 3 straightforward steps. Step 1. Start fast. Time is absolutely of the essence. Call or message Navy Federal immediately to block the card if it's fraud, or at least flag the charge if it's an error. Step 2. Submit the designated dispute form we just went over. And Step 3. Hand over your supporting documentation. Because honestly, your claim is only as strong as the proof you can back it up with. Which leads us perfectly into our next section.
Section 4. Gathering winning evidence. Arming yourself.
To win, you need to build a rock-solid proof package. For billing errors, Navy Federal really wants to see a good faith effort that you tried to work it out with the merchant first. So dig up those receipts, confirmation emails, and most importantly, your communication logs with that merchant. Show the bank the emails where you politely asked for a refund and got crickets. If a product was defective, snap photos and keep returned shipping receipts. Now, if you're dealing with a massive headache of multiple bad charges, do yourself a favor and create a spreadsheet to track the timeline. And if we're talking outright identity theft or fraud, go file a police report. Submitting that carries a massive amount of weight. But wait, pay very close attention to this specific Navy Federal rule. They explicitly state they cannot use videos, voice recordings, or printed pictures to support your claim. No way.
So please do not waste your time trying to upload a huge video file of you opening a broken package. If you need to prove you actually tried to call a merchant, just provide your itemized phone records instead of a voice recording. Knowing these unique institutional quirks will definitely save you from getting your hard-earned evidence rejected on a pure technicality.
Section 5. The Investigation Timeline. The Waiting Game. Banking regulations mean strict deadlines, so let's walk chronologically through these vital milestones. If you want to issue a stop payment on a recurring debit, Navy Federal needs that request at least 3 business days before the scheduled transfer. Once you actually file a standard dispute, the bank generally gets 10 business days to do an initial assessment and issue what's called provisional credit. Now listen closely, this is huge. You have exactly 60 calendar days from the date the statement with the error was first made available to you to report it. Miss that 60-day window? You could completely lose your regulatory protections entirely. And the absolute maximum time they have to wrap up the investigation, 120 calendar days.
I mentioned provisional credit just a second ago, so let's define that clearly. It's essentially a temporary credit applied to your account by Navy Federal. It's a lifesaver because it lets you actually use your money, to pay rent or buy groceries while the bank takes up to 120 days investigating. But keep that word temporary in your head. If you end up losing the dispute, Navy Federal will pull that credit right back out. And if you don't have the funds in there to cover it, you could wind up overdrawn. Ouch. Let's see how all this builds to a final resolution. Basically, at the end of that 120-day waiting game, the liability shifts. Someone has to eat the loss, right? Depending on the chargeback rights and the evidence you manage to provide, the financial responsibility will ultimately land on either the card issuer, so the bank, the merchant, or if your dispute is found to be totally invalid, it lands right back on you, the cardholder.
Section 6. Advanced Tactics and Disclaimers. Legal Realities.
Sometimes things get complicated, and a perfect example of what not to do comes from a recent 2025 federal court case called Lovelady versus Experian. Basically, a plaintiff tried to dispute a dental bill that her husband racked up, claiming it was inaccurate and fraudulent just because she didn't personally sign for it. Well, the court completely ruled against her. They noted that under state law, community debts remain the joint obligation of both spouses. The big takeaway here, you absolutely cannot use the bank's fraud dispute system to try and dodge a legally valid joint liability debt. This system is for actual errors and actual fraud, not for trying to bypass family law or valid contracts.
But hey, what if you have a totally rock-solid claim and it still gets denied? Don't panic, here are some pro tips to escalate things. Under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, if you're denied, you have the right to request the bank's investigation file. This lets you see exactly why they said no, giving you the ammo you need for an appeal. If a bank or merchant is just flat out ignoring you, go ahead and file a complaint with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, or CFPB. Banks have to respond to CFPB complaints within 15 days. Finally, always monitor your credit score using tools like Credit Karma during a dispute. You want to make absolutely sure a rogue merchant hasn't secretly sent a contested charge to a collections agency.
As we wrap things up today, I've got to give a quick but important legal disclaimer. This explainer is strictly for informational purposes. Banking regulations and state laws can vary wildly. You should always consult professional legal advice or just reach out to Navy Federal directly at 1-888-842-6328 to get personalized guidance for your specific account and to grab the most up-to-date info on their protocols.
Which brings us to our final thought. These systems are definitely in place to protect you, but they require your active participation. So I'll leave you with this. If a rogue charge hit your account today, like right this second, are you actually monitoring your statements closely enough to catch it before that crucial 60-day window slams shut? Stay vigilant, stay organized, and you'll be perfectly equipped to protect your hard-earned money. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.